let's see how Wikipedia weighs in on this, shall we? So, my pick for this week. Oh, who the fuck are we, by the way? Who the fuck are you?
So, I'm Josh.
We are the Movie Dicks on Stuck on Rewind. I'm Zach.
And Tristan. We are talking about Color Out of Space. It's a 2019 American science fiction Lovecraftian horror. That's the mouthful they're deciding to genreify this with. Film directed by and co-directed... film directed and co-written by Richard Stanley, based on the short story Color Out of Space by H.P. Lovecraft. Notable literary racist. It stars Nick Cage, Joel Lee Richardson, Elliot Knight, Madeline Arthur, I'm gonna butcher, Koryanka Kilcher, and Tommy Chong. It's his first... Yeah.
Hey, man. Dave's not here, man.
Dave's not here, man. Hey, you seen G-Spot? Oh, pussy named G-Spot. That's fucking hilarious. So we have this fantastic piece of artwork that ranks in many different... It definitely checks a lot of boxes for me. It's a Nick Cage film, science fiction.
That's the biggest box.
It is the biggest fucking box.
We wouldn't be watching this shit if Nick Cage. No doubt. Nobody would.
That's
care.
not true. Actually, I think the fact that the producers of Mandy were attached to it was more interesting.
Yeah, it's got Nick Cage and it looks like Mandy, so it's, you know.
It tried to be. We'll get to that.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as Mandy, clearly, but, you know.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear you guys tell me what the fuck Mandy is actually about. I hear of so many things, like it's, it's psychedelic.
That's a very good question. I don't think we'll be able to have time to get into that.
Well, fuck it. Let's dive right into the fucking plot here, and we'll get to the big questions as they arise. Much like our boners for Nick Cage.
This is your pick, Tristan. Why this movie?
This I chose because it won. Of course, it's a Nick Cage film, and I feel like my repertoire of Nick Cage films is sadly lacking. There's just like so many great Nick Cage films out there that I apparently have not seen. Zach has been very enlightening on this tip, and so I was just looking through like potential Nick Cage films to watch that I'd never seen before. I've chosen movies that exclusively that I've already seen that I knew I would talk about. This was a great little find, and I am so fucking pleased with having chosen this one to talk about, because it's there's so much good culty juiciness to it. And yeah, it's a new film, which it was surprisingly good. I almost never like new movies, with like few rare exceptions, and we'll maybe touch on some of those later. But yeah, it was just something I hadn't seen, and it was Lovecraft, horror and science fiction blended, and of course, the ineffable, oh god, at times, at 100% Cage, definitely. Nicolas fucking Cage, patron saint of the 3-season character development in a single film.
Well, it's funny because, part of the reason you said last week was, let's do Nick Cage November, and we're now, by the time this comes out, it'll be mid-December, and I don't even think we'll do any more Nick Cage movies after this. We have other things, but yeah, that was part of the reasoning last week was Nick Cage November, and here we are in December.
We're busy people. We have day jobs
lame.
and school. Yeah. So we try to get
tune in next year for I say that now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Are we getting shut down because of quarantine now?
Yeah, right.
By order of Gavin Newsom, all podcasts have been ordered to shut down.
There'll be no more Nick Cage.
Except for his. Which is a cooking show he hosts with his cat.
Yeah. It's his cat's birthday. Do you know that?
Is it Lovecraft's cat?
It's adorable. You can see it. He licked the cake batter spoon.
For the two racists who got that joke, that reference.
Wait.
So
what?
I'll explain that reference later. I can't say it here, but if you know what I'm talking about, Google Lovecraft's cat.
Oh yes.
That's all I'm going to say about it. Go Google it.
So the film starts with the character Lavinia, She's casting some spells. What is she casting spells to cure a mom of cancer? Is this a setup for something further in the movie? Maybe.
She's an edgy
doesn't
Wiccan.
matter.
It doesn't.
I'm not even going to do it, but she's not even doing the
None of this matters.
right or correctly.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because she gets interrupted by, like, this is how I had a bad feeling as soon as the movie started. As soon as that character, the waterographer, or whatever the hell
I'm
he
a
is.
hydrologist.
The hydrologist.
The hydrologist. It sounds made up to me. That doesn't sound like
That's one who studies water and the water table.
Yeah. Is he a waterbender too?
He just spends a lot of time in a deprivation tank.
Well, I think you're burying the lead, Josh, which is that
Yeah.
you had the bad feeling because he's a black guy and this is a Lovecraft movie.
Well, that seems to be the fashionable thing.
And he's
watch anything
and right off the bat he's hitting on a blonde girl. So,
well,
we all see what
He's
it is.
smacking hard.
No.
He comes in heavy, watching this total Wiccan Tumblr witch in the middle of a goddamn field doing a whole ritual, calling on the principalities of earth, fire, water, ether, etc. And she's interrupted by the hydrologist, this young black gentleman who is in the area doing some kind of survey work. And what is the name of this place? Arkham?
Yeah. Arkham is a recurring location in Lovecraft's work. It's set somewhere on the coast of Massachusetts, and it comes up in a lot of his stories, along with Miskatonic University, which is based on Brown University that Lovecraft went to, and the hydrologist is wearing a sweatshirt from where else but Miskatonic University. So a lot of these Lovecraft themes that reoccur in his stories are seen in this movie.
Excellent. Great background. So, yeah, he interrupts her ritual. She is very peeved with him, tells him he's trespassing on private property and that he'd actually notified the landowners first she's heard of it, because her parents are the ones who own the farm that she's doing this spell on. And immediately he finds he slides his way into her good graces by saying, "Oh, you're doing a ritual." And she's like, "Yeah, but you've ruined it." And he's like, what are the two kinds of magic?
Wiccan
Wiccan? Here's what's weird. He asked if she's an Alexandrian Wiccan.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Or something else.
But their family's last name is Gardner. So I'm not going to go deep into this, but I know a little bit about this stuff. Gerald Gardner was the guy who founded basically modern-day Wicca in the 1950s, which, I'll just throw this out, was ripped completely off of Aleister Crowley. Well, I'm not. That's all I'm going to say. I could do like 2 hours on that, but that's a very interesting thing. Is that their family's name is Gardner.
Look out for our new Stuck on Rewind
Yes, she's doing
series.
Alexandrian Wicca.
Wiccans, how do they work? So,
I don't want to talk to a scientist.
yeah, is a scientist, but he is able to ask. He's in the know enough about magic, intention, blessed be, etc. To say, is it Wiccan or Alexandrian? And she's like, which do you think it is? And it's like, this is the test, like whether he's like gonna scoop this broad up or not in the long run. He guesses the wrong one. And she's like, that's the second mistake you've made today. But you can tell immediately she is impressed, and he's found his way into her good graces.
It's really old Golden Dawn rituals rewritten in bullshit fake old English. I'm gonna stop talking about this weird shit I know. But I had some issues with how she was doing that ritual. That's all I'm gonna say.
This is not canon.
That's not how you would have done it. Well, I'm curious. If you know that spell at all, is that the reason why the object fell from space? Was it related to
and
her
did
spell?
she get her wish in the end? I think this is a question we need to answer.
Yeah. Well, these are all big questions.
What was she wishing for?
Her mom to be cured of cancer.
And for her to get the fuck
she also
out
had a
of
second
there.
wish. Now it's her second spell that she did that, right? That's when she cut herself up?
I thought
that was the
she
second
wished
spell.
for three things. The first was that her mother be cured of cancer, that the cancer be driven from her body. The second, I can't remember. But the third is, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just desperately wants to not be living at home anymore.
Yeah, obviously. How old is she supposed to be? 16 to 18, something like that.
She looks about 13.
Well, she's got the hots for Mr.
Yeah, she
Water
looks like
Scientist in
about maybe
college.
16 or so. She's
Yeah,
very rebellious and whiny, and I didn't really care for her. Like she was kind of cute, but she annoyed me.
What I really dug from the get-go in this filmmaker's choice was the homage she paid to Quentin Tarantino, really getting a great shot of her foot as she mounts her noble steed, Comet. It's actually a fucking white horse. She's riding away from this dude. And there's...
On a white horse.
And she's got a pentagram tattooed on the top of her foot. I was like, oh yeah,
Could be
that's
Joss
sweet
Whedon.
feet.
So anyway, his
Five
business
toes.
is that
5 toes out of 10. Let's be real.
yeah.
so he's a hydrologist, a guy who studies like bodies of water or whatever it is they do, and apparently the
Smoking out of
land
bombs.
they own is being surveyed
Yeah.
for a dam that is being built. So it's very important to know that this kind of reservoir is going to flow through the property, presumably, or something like that. And this is the first thing we hear about the groundwater. Now, the water on the property is actually one of the key points that you might not have picked up on.
Right.
I believe, I can't prove it, that much of the problems in this could come from poisoning in the water itself, which is what kind of drives the madness in certain ways,
that
because
has
he
to
keeps
do
he
with
keeps
it.
harping on the water. He's like, oh, you have this water tested? Oh, there's all stuff with the water. And
Well, he's drinking his whiskey or whatever it is with ice that's from the water,
Yeah.
the well water. And there's even a close-up shot of the ice later in the film where you can see it's changed color itself. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's that's part of it. Plus, of course, the creature that came out of the water in the shower, which stabs him.
the well.
The well, there's multiple connections. And then, of course, at the end. But we'll
Right.
get
So
to that.
anyway, let's move straight forward here then.
Move straightforward.
So she returns home to her farmhouse, her parents. Just Cage trying to look like a fucking dumpy old father figure, but just
He's got like a cardigan and glasses and stuff.
yeah. But the man just oozes fucking sexual power, and you can hardly contain himself inside of this cardigan. He's pretending to read a book on the front porch, waiting for his daughter to return home. They're supposed to be studying, her and her brother, and she's out doing Wiccan spells on her horse while her brother is in the barn, in the alpaca barn,
Alpacas are the future.
studying NASA something. We all know what that means.
Yeah. Like smoking weed. Yeah.
Fuck, kill her, bro.
Yeah, so in Cage's mind, these alpacas are the future, I guess. You can do something with them. So he's bottled these alpacas. This is his family farm, and we find out he had no intention of coming back to the farm. He wanted to live in the city, and I think he was a painter or something.
Something
Yeah,
legit.
he's some kind of artist, and his wife is really the breadwinner. She's some kind of fancy businesswoman. They kind of touch on that a little bit.
Stockbroker. something
Medical
invested.
something.
She's some kind of fancy finance person who does her business from
Fix
up in
the
the attic.
internet. Fix the damn Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and the Wi-Fi keeps going out, and
The
I
first thing
understand.
that happens is that the next. It's so after the little family drama, everybody's stressed out. The mom's super stressed out. She's got cancer. Nick Cage is trying to hold it together, and the kids are both like, hey, "What the fuck are we doing out here in the goddamn middle of nowhere?"
yeah, that's very important. She had cancer. She had like surgery, and they haven't had sex in a while because she doesn't feel beautiful and she feels very down. So, and he's trying to really stay positive and keep the whole family together and drive everything along. And everyone else seems to have these kind of reasons they're down or they're angry, and Cage is really trying to rally the whole family.
If I get a little
together, and
sport
it's
here, it'd be
not really
greatly
working.
fucking appreciated.
Yeah.
But that's later. Yeah, so everybody goes to sleep. Is going to sleep. They're in their beds, like everybody's tucked away. Like family drama bullshit is past in the dinner scene, and Cage is trying to
And Nick
make
Cage
the
is
fucking
about to-
move.
He's about to get
He's
it.
about to get it, sweet fucking love to his wife in their pajamas for the first time since her operation. When what the fuck should happen? It's not his pure sexual prowess lighting up the fucking house and the sky, but a fucking meteorite crashes into the farm, glowing this ethereal purple color.
Yes, this purplish pink glow. This is going to be really the kind of one of the big kind of themes or motifs of the movie is this. It's not really a mist. It's not really a lighter though, because it sits in the air, but it really tints everything with this neon pink purple kind of glow and this kind of buzzing humming noise as well, and the other senses
a weird smell
are affected as well, but
yeah,
this kind of spreads out throughout the house, brightly pink, purple, and
which I'm assuming is the entity itself. Is it the entity, or does it just follow the entity? Is the color from out of space, is that the actual alien being itself?
Well, if you think about the entirety of, the universe is composed of waves, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, a color technically is a wavelength, right? Mm-hmm. So is this a being that exists in the wavelength of color?
That's how I kind of feel, because it's not like an entity where like it's a biological force. It definitely influences biology. In the same way in like Annihilation, sort of that alien influences biology. So it's like, I just imagine the light itself, though I don't know. The short story, the way I interpreted it, because I read the short story this is based off of. This is apparently H.P. Lovecraft's favorite short story. And I believe he says that the color is undescribable. And even Nick Cage himself says the color was undescribable, though obviously we can see it's not undescribable. It's very, as Zach just described.
Well,
the picture's worth a thousand, so film has kind of an edge.
That's the thing with Lovecraft is he does this in every story. It's something that cannot exactly be put into words. It doesn't have necessarily like a material or physical way of describing, but he describes it kind of in simile, kind of it's analogous to something else, or a feeling, or a mood, a memory, something like that. But whenever you're adapting Lovecraft, that's the biggest problem, is that he never directly tells you it looks like this. He simply says it makes you feel a certain way.
Right.
Do you think the movie would have gained from a black and white option instead of the color option? Since the black and white would kind of hide the fact that we wouldn't be able to know what color it was.
Well, in the story,
because they pretty much settled on chartreuse.
in the story, it's described as making everything gray, and everything it touches slowly turns to a white gray powder and dissolves. So over time, like the crops turn gray, the trees turn gray, the people turn gray,
Chong turns
all
gray.
this turns gray.
And instead in this one, the plants get very vibrant.
Yeah, it's the complete opposite here.
It's vibrant, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that has something to do with the fact that the movie they're coming from, Mandy, is known for its lighting. Like that's.
Well, I feel like people wouldn't have gone to, because that's part of what I did like from the trailer, is even in the poster, it's got the bright pinks and purples, and that's kind of what draws you to it. Is in the trailer you see this vibrant light moving throughout the house, coloring everything. And it just has a very alien invasion kind of mood to it, and so it does kind of help drive that. It's interesting though that it's touching on all the senses, because at one point Cage says something like, "Oh, can't you guys smell that?" And nobody else can smell it, but he can clearly smell something is wrong. So it's, I guess for different people, it's playing on different senses or doing different kinds of things.
Well, next time I have to download the smell-o-vision.
Oh, yeah.
That way I can actually know what the smell is. That would be fun.
That's kind of fun. I like that. We gotta bring that back, smell-o-vision, especially in the COVID times.
Yeah.
Get that for your loved ones this Christmas. Smell-o-vision.
Stick it under the mask.
Yeah. This works on so many levels. So. This thing has crashed, and they bring the cops out to look at it. Lavinia,
the reporters. The reporters.
Oh well, no. So they bring the police in to report it, and the mayor shows up because it's a very small town, and oh, this is good. And she says this is going to be great for tourism. Let's bring the press here. And they end up interviewing Nick Cage's character, and he's shown on television later on. And he just keeps going, "Fuck, oh, god damn it!"
He does not want these people here. Clearly, he has some kind of issue with the local mayor. That's something too. Is this? It looks like a small town at times, and yet other times we see that like they have this kind of large police force that has all this kind of advanced investigation, forensic kind of stuff and other things. So it's never really clear kind of how big or small Arkham is, because they seem to have a lot of capabilities. But then
I'm from a small town called Groveport, Ohio, and they have a massive police force. That's like 1 cop per 3 citizens. It's like insane. So if you get pulled over, you get 10 cop cars behind you because they have nothing better to do. So as someone from a small town, I understand that a bloated police force is not entirely unexpected.
Yeah, people are saying.
Yeah, but this mayor is very excited about, I don't know. Yeah, I guess tourists are going to come look at the thing, but suddenly the thing is gone. It was a smoking crater with a kind of a glowing rock, and now even the rock is gone. There's simply just an empty crater. So where did it go? What happened? We don't know. And we should also talk about Ezra now, there's a tiny little cabin deep off in their property in the woods.
Here we go. Right. So
and there's an old hermit who lives there, and his name is Ezra, played by who else but Tommy John.
Right. So here we go. Ward notices that the groundwater has taken on this oily sheen because he's doing his hydrology, fake science, whatever you want to call it, and he's using test strips on it, like you check the pH levels of the water, and it begins to glow this horrible dark red, which is really bad if you ever use these test strips on water. You don't want it to be super dark red. You don't want it to be super dark green. The former is acidic. The latter's basic, and you want it to be dead in the middle. He advises the gardeners not to drink the well water. They are all drinking from the well. Meanwhile,
and they don't listen to him.
Of course,
He constantly harps on this water's dangerous. Don't, and nobody listens.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
Nobody can accept that something's wrong.
Get your fake science the fuck off my property.
Yeah, exactly. Fake news, fake science. You big city people, bring your problems here.
Let me guess.
That's
Boston.
all it is.
Stay away from my daughter, by the way.
Yeah, don't talk to my daughter.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, so we have to talk about this before we get to Ezra. Nick Cage takes Ward out to the alpaca barn after he clearly notices that Ward his daughter has a thing for Ward. It's like his way of doing the I'm gonna man to man with you here. You think you're gonna fucking fuck my daughter? All right, so come here, come out to the alpaca barn. I gotta milk him. And there's this beautiful scene of Nicolas Cage handling alpaca teats. He's like, oh yeah, you gotta be careful with the boobs. Like he's trying to, the metaphor is like him giving him tips about how he's supposed to handle his daughter or something. That's the vibes I'm getting from it. So, do you want to try some? It's really good. I find that adding fennel to the feed really gives it more volume and flavor. And Ward, to his credit, is like, I'm lactose intolerant, thanks anyway. Yeah. Oh, it's your loss.
That
doesn't make any sense here. That would just make it taste like licorice and it would give you diarrhea. And we know this because we spent enough time on Catalina.
Fennel is delicious. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, and he takes this long draught of the fucking drinking this alpaca milk straight from the teat. So then Ward decides he's going to get the fuck out of here and go down the road, and he discovers this, what would you call it?
It's kind of a hippie cabin. It's got stained glass and all kinds of bright textiles and mandalas.
Yeah. It's like a mobile home, but it's not going anywhere, and it's kind of made of a whole bunch of different shit.
It's like where a Lord of the Rings kind of wizard dwarf would live, or I don't know.
This is all extremely accurate. Finds this hippie dude living out in the woods, played by Yes.
By Tommy Chong.
Uh,
And Tommy Chong is great in this too because he just has to play himself, but he's got those kind of characters like, no man, it's real. Like, you believe me? Like,
believe me unless I record it.
So he drinks the water, and he also makes moonshine or something out of it. He made something out of the water. I forget what. I don't know.
Do you guys have a theory on how he knew the hydrologist was there? Because he says little birdies tell him at one point.
I'm guessing he's some kind of ufologist. Honestly, I think.
Okay. What's his backstory? Because he knows things, and he shouldn't know things. He just stays in his cabin and whatever you want to call it and smokes weed.
Yeah. He's some
he knows things because he smokes weed, Josh.
Well, that's the connection,
smoke weed
right?
and know things, man.
Yeah, right. You just took the most acid.
And so I think it's he's got all this recording equipment, this big bass, this big stack of electronics, and it reminded me of the first MUFON character that Mulder and Scully meet in X-Files, who's got a mobile home outfitted with all this shit that can listen to frequencies I don't know, out in space.
From outer space?
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm guessing it's something to do with that. He's able to tune into certain radio frequencies and hear chatter that is usually not available to the public.
That's possible. Yeah, because he definitely I don't think he has a supernatural connection, but they establish he knows things.
Well, that's good. I didn't pick up on that, but now you say that makes a lot of sense because this is, of course, a meteorite coming from space,
right.
And he has picked up on some kind of frequency or some kind of a warning coming from space. Yeah. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And
but I could be complete. Yeah, I'm just fucking psychic, man.
Yeah,
you didn't know that?
It's the birdies. It's the birdies, man. He's Tom Bombadil, or
whatever
his name is.
Dude, he fucking is.
It's basically what he is.
Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil.
Oh man, nerd points. If you're playing Nerd Bingo at home, go ahead and put out a chip for Tom Bombadil.
Who would Cheech be in Lord of the Rings?
Oh,
Sam.
Hey man, potatoes, man. Boil them, put them in a stew.
What about second breakfast, Steve?
Yeah, exactly.
I got the munchies, man.
Yeah, where is East LA on the map of Middle Earth?
Right. And obviously, Stacy, Officer Stadenko is Saruman, but
yeah,
clearly that narc.
Yeah, that fucking narc.
What a narc.
But Ezra has a recording of some kind of sound coming from below the house. So
yeah,
whatever has come down here,
it's down.
I guess
there.
the meteor burrowed into the ground and is now either making vibrations up through the earth or has seeped into the water. We don't know.
He kind of says it. It's in everything, man. The water, the air, the water.
Who are you?
Oh no, he does this whole spooky voice. I don't know. We'll get into the.
It's the ominous, crazy old hermit voice, right? You always need one of those characters for this sort of situation.
And Tommy Chong is the best guy ever to do.
And who's archetypally the wise old man. He is the wise old hermit of this film.
And a fool,
and a fool.
Right? Because he kind of makes some foolish mistakes.
Right, but they're two sides of the same coin, archetypally speaking.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody makes some clearly foolish mistakes, you should just stop drinking the water, you should stop doing all these very obvious things. Well, nobody does the most obvious
This is an
things.
analogy, this isn't an allegory for global warming, climate change. Everyone knows that something's wrong, but no one's willing to face it or do anything necessary to face it. Tristan, you made an amazing face right there. But it's they're in denial the entire time. I saw it more as this it's a commentary on climate change and climate denial and just how no one wants to face the facts.
Wait, we have facts to face?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. What are the facts, right? No one wants to believe the facts. It almost sounds supernatural.
I never got the facts, man. I don't have a fax machine.
Yeah. Dave is here.
Jesus Christ. I'm gonna go hang myself. See you guys later.
That's the only way you can get an erection.
Oh man, reminds me of the last moments. I just finished Mindhunter. It's a great cliffhanger. Just watching a serial killer masturbate with a mask on while he's hanging himself. Moving on, while later, Teresa, the mother of the farmhouse, Nick Cage's wife, is preparing dinner. She absent-mindedly cuts off 2 of her fingers. Dinner served. I guess. And she seems completely unfazed by this. Like she's just listening to the chatter of the television or whatever. She's cutting carrots, and it just keeps getting closer and closer. And then just 2 digits crunch, like blood spurts on her face, and she keeps fucking chopping while she's.
This is the cringiest moment in the whole thing because you see it happen. You see her cut the fingers. And you're just like, oh god,
so good.
Wow, like something is wrong.
So
here.
visceral.
They built up too for about 45 seconds, 60 seconds of just cutting back and forth to Nick Cage saying "fuck" watching the news report where he embarrasses himself. Were you drinking during the time of the incident? Well, I had some bourbon.
But I was sober when I came out of the house. And...
Yeah, I was sober. Yeah. Chop, 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 and then boom. Crunch. But it wasn't proportioned because she was doing really small cuts, and then all of a sudden she took off like this.
Part of her just like a whole knuckle.
So it was a big jump. Yeah, she should have taken a tip off. That would have been a fun scene, like a tip and then another tip, another part and another part, and done it in layers. And then she should have held it up like like a tray.
So immediately, Cage puts her in the car. They rush off the hospital in town. He leaves the older son. He has 2 other sons. There's the older one and the younger one. The younger one has now started talking into the well next to the house and claims that he sees some kind of thing in the well that talks to him.
Yeah.
I guess that's where you do get a drawing. The kid does draw what he sees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's supposed to be the entity, like its actual self.
Yeah, the young kid is clearly a little more dialed into whatever's going on, but
as children,
most susceptible to psychic suggestion.
That and dogs. Yes.
So Cage leaves. He leaves the older son in charge. And one thing he tells him is, make sure you put the fucking alpacas inside before you go to sleep. Those alpacas are expensive.
Yeah. By 10 o'clock, they better be fucking fed. So he leaves the kids alone as they go, to the emergency room. And that's when shit starts getting really weird. Things happen around the place where the meteor struck. The older son goes out to put the alpacas away, and he returns to the house and to his sister, and he says, I know this is going to sound weird, but I got lost out there. He didn't even go, he's just on the property, just a few hundred, not even, 20 feet away from the house. And he got lost and experienced this everybody's experiencing time dilation for some reason.
See, I'm surprised you picked up on. I didn't even really pick up on that right away. It took me. I don't know what it was. Maybe I wasn't paying full attention. But
there's this whole movie. There's never a point where it's boom, this is what's wrong. It's just little things. Either the smell is off, the sound is off. People forget something. There's always these tiny, tiny little breadcrumbs leading to things getting worse. So you never fully realize that you've gone into the full insanity because it happens so slowly and so subtly as the movie goes along.
Yeah, and so Benny goes outside to put the farm's alpacas away, doesn't return until way late at night, and he claims that time had passed instantaneously for him. This is very standard with actual UFO activity reports of abductions. People experience time dilation. Lavinia attempts multiple times to contact her dad, Cage, but the phone doesn't work. And even when her phone rings, her dad's trying to call her, it's always garbled. She can't hear it. There's no means of contacting through technology the outside world. And then her dad gets back, and we're moving up in the level of Cage that we're getting from the 10% we started on at the beginning of the film. We now see a full 40% Nick Cage meltdown. Yep. He's lashing out at both of his kids.
Fucking alpacas.
Yeah.
Because the alpacas that he put inside are now outside again, and Cage is very unhappy.
And he starts swearing at his kids. Like, he was very sweet, old, kind of meek, like, just holding it together, good kind of dad at the beginning of this film. And now he's just a complete raging asshole to his children.
Give us your impression, Tristan. You have to be able to do it. Do his over-the-top angry. How do you do it?
The fuck are those alpacas doing outside of the barn? The fuck do you mean you tried?
Yeah. So it's not so much that he gets angry, because Cage does that a lot. It's that this is one of the most interesting character choices he's ever made. As the movie goes on, he develops this kind of speech impediment.
Really?
Where he sounds exactly like the guy from Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah, he sounds like his character from Vampire's Kiss, but also what I picked on is, have you guys ever seen Jim Carrey in Cable Guy?
Yes. Somebody got to kill the babysitter.
So, at the beginning, Nick Cage is like this, but then as the movie goes on, he gets more and more like this. Like, why weren't the fucking alpacas trying to wear yet?
You're right! That's fucking true!
The fucking alpacas!
And the kid's like... And Benny, to his credit, the older son, this actor gives a phenomenal performance. He has 2 speeds, slow and slower. He's just like a catatonic sort of stoner. But like, or maybe he just has no personality. I can't tell which it is. But he's
a teenager.
Yeah, in all fairness, to be fair.
Yeah. To be fair.
Yeah, his dad's just railing at him. He's just about these alpacas. He's like, I tried, Dad. Because he literally tried. Like, he went outside, didn't come back until way late at night, experienced it as an instantaneous moment, and he thinks he got lost. Like, not 20 feet from his own door.
That's a burnout moment right there. It's like he smoked... That weed was a little too good.
Yeah, fuck it. I've been microdosing.
That's the good that Chong gave him.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. That's probably where he's getting it from.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Holy cow.
I grow on my own, man. See all these woods? Yeah, and he's like, I tried, Dad. He's like, what the fuck do you mean you tried? Like, it's so it's, oh god,
this is the point where I want to talk a little bit more about Vampire's Kiss, because, yeah, for those who haven't, like, delved too deeply into the Nick Cage stuff, go watch Vampire's Kiss if you want to see just one of his most just absurd, over-the-top performances, because much like in this one, and that one, he gets more and more lispy as it goes along. There's the very famous meme you've probably seen called "Oh Really," where it's him going like "Oh really," and that's the scene where he's yelling. In Vampire's Kiss, there's this secretary who can't find this one document. He keeps torturing her and making her.
We were looking at that when we watched it last night. That fucking meme.
So he's kind of leaning back and he's like, "Look. I can't think of a worse job if I tried. And even if I did, I wouldn't make someone do that. Because that's the worst job there is. And it's true." It just gets like just crazier as he goes along.
And is this his first film?
No. Well, the thing is, Nick Cage was a big star in his early 20s. He did stuff like Valley Girl and Honeymoon in Vegas. And
that was all pre-Vampire's
Moonstruck.
Kiss.
Yeah, and then in the mid-90s, he kind of took a dive again. Every 10 or 15 years, he has kind of an up and down, because, like, Tristan, when you and I were kids, it was National Treasure. That was, like, his big thing. And then he did kind of some stuff, and then he's basically become a meme now for millennials. He's not even Nick Cage. He's the idea of Nick Cage.
Right.
Oh, his first movie was Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's his earliest...
Well, he's a Coppola, so
yeah.
The Dollar Girl, Rumblefish, Racing with the Moon, The Cotton Club, Birdie, The Boy in Blue, Peggy Sue Got Married, Raising Arizona, Moonstruck, Vampire's Kiss. Holy crap!
Yeah, these are all
those are all in order.
Yeah, in the '80s, he was a pretty big name for a few years, and then the thing with Cage is he's a workaholic, and now he needs to be a workaholic because he bought like
$100 million,
100 castles and a plantation
and a T-Rex skull. Let's not forget. And he bought
lots of cocaine. That's mostly what it is. Lots of cocaine.
I'm pretty sure that it was just a T-Rex skull filled with cocaine.
Yeah, and I should say this:
swimming in that.
his former roommate Johnny Depp seems to have picked up a lot of his habits from him, because Johnny Depp wasn't an actor. He was rooming with Cage in the 80s, and Cage said, "Oh, hey man, you should go be an actor. You'd be like good at it." And now here we are, and they're both broke, and but we picked up a lot from Nick Cage.
And yet,
I just want to say that
because girl's wet dream.
It's Nick Cage. That's her first.
No, Johnny Depp in the 90s.
Oh, Johnny Depp. Oh, sorry.
This town is like
Cage
dancing
is
with
my
no
first
music.
Yeah.
So we're progressing here. They're back from the emergency room. Amazingly, they let her out after having chopped off her own finger, basically. So they're all in the house together again. And the first.
Is this the part where they saw the mutant cat?
No, not yet.
That's later. Okay.
So, it's next day, but again, like day and night, like this is meant to intentionally disorient you as a viewer. Like it changes from day to night or mid-afternoon or morning. Like the lighting just shifts willy-nilly the entire time. You're never sure which day it is because the light keeps changing.
There's always this kind of foggy twilight going
on
the whole time, where there's no sun.
Exactly. In these thick-ass woods in the middle of nowhere, Massachusetts. So the first thing, several terrible things happen. First, Cage gets super frustrated because he finds out like all of these fruits he's been growing, these fucking like they look like heirloom tomatoes. Taste like shit, and he keeps eating, like biting into one after another and spitting it out into the fucking sink, like son of a fucking
while
bitch!
His wife is complaining about the Wi-Fi service.
I thought you said you fixed the antenna. It's like, I didn't fix the antenna.
I don't know.
I looked at it yesterday.
Yeah, this is just them becoming more and more just hostile and aggressive, and everybody's fighting about different things, but nobody can really seem to agree on what the problem is, so they're all angry at different things, but this turns into them all just being angry at each other, but there's no really resolution in sight. Right. They just get crazier and crazier as it goes along, and it just gets more and more manic.
So the parents are losing their minds, like with anger at each other for no apparent reason. Meanwhile, the kids are just like at a loss as to how the fuck to get around what the fuck is happening. So Lavinia is doing her magic shit, fucking cutting herself, mutilating herself, like to do a blood sacrifice in order to get them some fucking supernatural aid to get out of here. But it's just so many things, like so many ills of the young teenage girl like manifest itself inside of Lavinia. An obsession with magic, Alexandrian bullshit, colored hair extensions, self-mutilation, and bulimia.
Wanting to date a guy who's in college, wanting to date a black guy.
Lovecraft is spinning in his fucking grave.
Lovecraft would not have been
twirling.
In this movie.
And I thought this, though, like, when she was doing the spell, I'm like, is this going to have significance? Is she just a stupid teenager who's acting out and trying to do the only thing she knows how to do, which is, like, do her magic? Was it pointless? Did it not serve any point other than just to show her desperation? I
think so.
Because right after that, a big tragedy happens, right? That's when the explosion happens.
That's kind of the whole thing with, we'll kind of touch on part of what they're going to do at the end, which is that
right. Okay, here it comes. Yeah.
This is just a cursed place. The water is cursed. The location itself is cursed. The only way to get away from this is just to leave and to not be a part of it. But if you think you're going to stay there and turn it back, it's just completely futile.
Right. Or ignoring it's going to go away.
But of course, it doesn't ignore them. So the mother suddenly hears her son and Cage screaming at each other inside the alpaca stable, and she rushes in, and oh no, wait, it's not Cage, it's the younger brother and the older brother. They're like in an argument for some reason in the alpaca stables. She comes out like to see what the fuck is going on, and a bolt of lightning, the color, shoots out and fuses the mother and the young son into one fucking Cronenberg monster fucking thing.
And thing is proper because, yes. Is this before or after the alpaca thing?
This is before.
Let's talk about that alpaca thing. Because that's a lot more
so
indicative of...
Well, I mean, because I feel like...
I don't want to jump around too much. I just I can't remember the sequence in which
it's very quickly happens after this.
Let's just say it. It's the biggest influence I think on this movie is clearly John Carpenter's The Thing. Not only through the creatures we'll talk to, but also the use of the light. Because if you watch The Thing, it's all these purple and blue neon lights shining everywhere. The cinematography and the lighting in that movie is incredible, but also the very grotesque creatures that just kind of, morph into different things, and there's blood and guts everywhere. And that's what the alpacas have melded into. I think there's like 4 alpacas, and suddenly they're just one big kind of massive alpaca with all these huge limbs and blood spraying everywhere. And
I've never wanted to have sex with an alpaca more.
Until it had 6 heads fused to a gigantic gelatinous body.
Dude, it's a hard fetish to actually see through. I'm just saying. So that was a good.
I like those perverts who are into llamas.
Fucking sickos. God hates those people.
Tune in next week for What's Your Fetish? Host Josh Young. Maybe you can delete your name from that out.
Oh yeah, shit.
Is that Young with a J?
Yeah. Joshua Young. Sorry, go ahead. So after the mom and the son get fused together, Nick Cage comes through like it's no thing. They're just fucking just drag him upstairs.
He just kind of leaves him up in an attic.
Let's just fucking put you up here, baby. You'll be fine.
Do you think this melding has some sort of analogy with the tumor that she had, where now she's like gaining on this whole extra?
You mean the children are tumors?
Yeah, basically. Are these her curse? Her children?
The youngest one anyway.
How the children ruined the woman. Yeah, for sure.
Like the first two, the vajay was still taut, malleable, good, but the third one, you just stretch that elastic rubber band one too many times. It's never the same. It was never the same.
And then the husband no longer finds you attractive, and then it's just a big nightmare situation. But I don't know. I thought maybe there was some sort of metaphor analogy there.
Children are tumors.
Yeah. Basically.
Also, it was just a really cool monster, like in The Thing.
God, yeah. And they can't speak anymore. The son is completely silent. You can't hear anything he says. But the mother just kind of the face of her pressing outside of this fused abomination that they have become.
Which is, it's the most disturbing scene of the film, I think. 'Cause it's like it's not like a 2-second scene. They're in the living room together for 5 minutes, talking about what to do as they're just on the couch,
gurgling.
Gurgling. So it's very
whimpering.
You're in a shit situation when that's your life right now. That's not good. I imagine myself in that situation, and it's that's not a good situation, and I'm out.
But so Cage is unfazed by this for some reason. Meanwhile, Lavinia and Benny are like, what the fuck is going on right now? This is not okay. Could you imagine oh my, I can't even put this into words of what that might feel like. But anyway, so they all get carried into the attic, and Benny reveals that he actually witnessed the alpacas being mutated by the color. And this is what Zach was just talking about. Nathan decides, so he tells his dad about the alpacas that are all fused together inside the barn, while they've been tending to mom and the younger son being fused into a Cronenberg. Nick Cage goes out there. He's like, I'm gonna handle it. He gets this old-timey fucking, it looks like a flintlock musket. It's just a shotgun or something. And he just starts blowing away these fucking alpaca heads. One after another.
They're popping
them like fucking zits. He's covered in alpaca mutant blood.
Alpaca bukkake.
Yeah. Hey,
they are the future.
Bring something are you guys hungry?
Yeah.
If so, alpaca lunch.
Yeah. That's it, guys. Come next week, and we'll be reviewing something.
Did we just get canceled?
Yeah. No, that's later.
Where we defend H.P. Lovecraft's political views.
Right. Yeah, right. Look,
I read the name of the cat on air. Can't do that.
I forgot to bleep it in post. Sorry, guys.
So
bad publicity is good publicity.
So the alpacas were basically like Cage's last like tether to any kind of sanity. These things that gave him joy in this god-awful place, his father's farm that he swore he'd never move back to.
That's the true tragedy.
Yeah. And he goes up to the attic, and the wife and child fusion is still fucking gurgling pathetically. It won't eat or drink anything anymore. And he's holding the shotgun still. And he tells the kids, just go downstairs. So what are you gonna do? I'm gonna handle it. And then Lavinia looks up at her, these huge fucking like eyes full of tears, like you handle the alpacas. So you
and she's sorry.
No. You go.
I thought you're no. I'm like, this is definitely the moment of no return for him because he makes the decision not to kill her, and I'm not sure if this was a free decision,
right?
Or at this point he's changed now completely.
I mean, this is the moment that actually fucking wakes me up.
But either way, he lets her live.
Yeah,
in the film, the coming up.
Oh
yeah.
God, just the like he, you think he's gonna fucking like he's doing the thing that for some reason people do when they're going to euthanize something, which is to tell it shh. It's gonna tell you how many times like friends or lovers or
take you to see
like,
the bunnies.
Yeah, they're like will just be laying next to me like someplace and like just grab a pillow and hold it above me and go, dude, shh. Like slowly press it onto my face.
One flight over the cuckoo's nest.
Yeah, it's gonna be all right, honey. It's gonna be okay. He hovers the shotgun Mauser like just above her fucking head, and then he stops, and he decides to give her one last fucking kiss. This disgusting abomination. He puts his fucking mouth on it, and when he pulls away, it's like strings of like goopy, God knows fucking what, like come up onto his lips as he pulls away, and he goes in for another one. He just goes, this fucking nasty shit that's clinging to his mouth, and that's when he decides not to kill her. I think that's the moment. It's like after he kisses the thing, like it infects him fully.
Some sort of transference that was stronger than what was in the ice or water or even the little jellyfish that stung him in the shower that we kind of skipped.
Love, the ultimate infection.
Yeah. It's a metaphor for the tumor that is love. Love is a tumor. Family tumor. Gotta cut it out.
And how?
Yeah. And a lot of this is family, a lot of closeness, a lot of togetherness, a lot of fusing together and, being entangled in a way that it's inseparable and unreversible. I guess in that sense, he kind of gets what he wants, right? Because he wants a close family. So,
he just get closer.
Everything becomes kind of their reverse. Because Cage at the beginning is the good family man, holding everyone together. He's the one who's positive about everything, and as it goes on, he becomes more and more angry and hostile and alien to his family, and they become kind of closer together in this dark, twisted kind of way. And really, everybody ends up being their opposite, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of character diversion from the way it's set.
Again, 3-season character arc in the span of a single movie. Fucking Cage is the king of that. So, Nathan decides not to fucking euthanize Teresa, his wife. So Lavinia and Benny are like, we're getting the fuck out of here. Like, we need to get the fuck out of here as soon as goddamn possible. And, so they try to leave using Lavinia's horse, which for some reason is fine. Like, the dog has disappeared and become like something ridiculous. It's gone. The packers are all fused together. Her mom and younger brother are a Cronenberg.
Oh yeah, no, at one point they try to get away in the car, and the car won't start. So they're stuck on the phone.
And Cage comes back from trying to start the car. He's like, the car is not happening. And she's like, what the fuck do you mean not happening?
Then he sits down and has another drink. As he does.
Time to pour.
I think.
Well, world, you've got me cornered again. I'm gonna pour another 2 fingers of bourbon and talk to this picture of my father that I hate.
This is your fault, Dad. Oh no.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Oh man. Right. So they try to get away on the horse, but it runs away when they try to saddle it. And before going inside, Benny and Sissy hears like the dog that's been missing inside of the well where they've been getting their water that's been clearly tainted, as Ward had tried to fucking warn all of them with his fake science hydrology. And the kid...
I'm glad you agree.
Who is he, Anthony Fauci?
Yeah. I know, right? What are you, the Anthony Fauci, the DWP? So he hears the dog inside the well and decides he's just going to climb in. Because, there's not untold proverbial stories about kids falling down wells.
I've never heard of any.
And actually, now that I think about it, that's kind of an interesting role reversal. Like, usually it's Lassie that goes and tells everybody that Jimmy's stuck in the well. This is Jimmy saying that Lassie's stuck in the well.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid.
Hey man, this is your paper. This is your thesis
Oh God!
You have to defend it
Oh
now.
Jesus! Thank you. Are you my orals board? Because
Yes.
All right. Zip.
Oh, there'll be an orals board.
Oh, it's not that kind of a board. Okay. Zip. He's assimilated by the color, which is infested in the well. So he starts. So Cage becomes 100% full meltdown Nick Cage when he tries to start the car. He's calling the Jeep a cocksucker. He's punching the fucking roof of the goddamn thing. He's screaming into nothingness. He has the full Nick Cage meltdown. The police
roll up.
He's got the full list like this.
Yeah. Right. And Ward and the police are going out because weird shit's happening. They're going back, like the science guy has gone out, brung back help.
Oh, they're checked out Chong's place first, right? And Chong's just sitting there, like, weird.
He's all gray and shit.
Yeah.
And he's muttering to himself. You think it's him muttering, but it's actually a recording of his voice playing on a 2-reel tape that's muttering about, it's in the water, it's in the air, it's... doing all this crazy sound shit. And clearly something is infested, like, is disturbing the peace. There's a disturbance in the fucking force.
And the force, baby.
And, so Ward's driving with the cops towards the property, and they see Lavinia's horse run past in the opposite direction. He's like, was that Lavinia's horse? Oh, we gotta go! So they go to the house.
We gotta help her.
And Nick Cage has lost his mind completely. They ask him where his wife is. And he's like, oh, she's just through there. Like, he points to the family room or the living room or whatever. Nobody there. It's like, yeah, everybody's there in there. Like, he's lost complete touch with reality somehow. And for some reason he believes that his family is all just in the living room. There's nobody there. And then they hear a scream from up in the attic. And they run up there. And so... fuck. This is just so fucking disturbing. So the reason they're there... Oh, right. I completely forgot about this. The whole reason Ward and the sheriff, like, go out to the property is because they some redneck found the fused mass of annihilated alpaca Cro-Magnons.
Yeah. And they brought it up to both those guys, the hydrologist and the sheriff.
Right. And
in the parking lot.
And Ward tells him it looks like radiation burns and shit. So yeah, they oh Jesus Christ. Fuck, where am I? We skipped over a few things here. I mean, we got to Ezra like desiccated inside of his own thing. Right. Okay, so Ward returns to rescue Lavinia and finds that she is completely possessed by the color, which starts exploding out of the well, forms a funnel into the sky. Ward is shown this vision as he's looking into Lavinia's eyes of like, it's like there's a mirroring image of like this purple color in both of their eyes, and he gets sucked into this tunnel, this vision of like a biological mass that's covered in moving tentacles and like
weird worm creatures. A monolith with some weird like symbol on the top with a giant sun or planet.
Yeah,
one could say Cthulhu-esque.
Ooh,
yeah, very Lovecraftian.
Right. I was hoping you guys could actually shed some light on this, having read the story. Like, is there a moment like this that happens in the story?
No, there's no moment.
No,
like
that's. I'll tell you more to the end, but what's fascinating about the story is that they don't tell you anything.
Well, that's fucking great storytelling, Mr. Lovecraft.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Lovecraft. You know, that's what the guy always.
It'll take you an hour to
always.
read the short story, and a lot of the film is just completely made up and maybe inspired from other.
Well, plot-wise, this is a fairly faithful adaptation. You know, it's always difficult doing Lovecraft because it's hard to. You got to come up with something to show, but as far as most of the plot points, it's pretty spot on until about the end.
No study at the college in the movie where like they're like investigating the contents of the rock or the.
Well, they are They do send the police out to investigate,
but not the college. There's the college in the short.
No, but Miskatonic University is in his other stories, and the town of Arkham is in his other stories, and the Necronomicon.
Yeah, I understand why. Like they wanted to keep this very local. Very much. Like,
it was a throwback to because Miskatonic University is in Reanimator, which is one of the probably the most well-known Lovecraft movie, and a lot of other things. And actually, the director Richard Stanley has said he wants to do 2 more of these Lovecraft stories, and the one he wants to do next is the Dunwich Horror, which is another pretty well-known Lovecraft story.
Yeah. So down to the climax here. So Ward sees this vision of like according to Wikipedia, the vision is of an exoplanet inhabited by tentacled alien entities. So it's like the home world of whatever this thing is. Space and time, like the whole space-time continuum is completely fucked. It begins to unravel entirely. And Ward goes into the farmhouse where Cage is armed with a shotgun. You touched my daughter, you son of a bitch! Like kind of energy about him. And Ward goes to hide in the wine cellar as the color's distortion of reality drives the entire property to destruction, leaving Ward the only survivor, climbing out of the farmhouse's debris, which everything, like all the debris, the land, the house, like everything, has completely drained of color. It's all white. Oh, to be a black man in America, eh?
Lovecraft country,
aliens.
Nothing but white death everywhere I look.
Fuck, dude, that was too close to home.
So you go to the epilogue, and it's like several years later, maybe decades later, where Ward is standing on top of this dam that was supposed to be finished. Like the entire reason he was sent out there as a hydrologist. Was for the building of this dam that was going to go over the property that covers the entire thing. So it's water as far as the eye can see, which was the whole issue to begin with of how it infected and destroyed this family. And he narrates the end of having witnessed the color's takeover and that he will never drink that fucking water.
Yep.
And that's Color Out of Space!
Yeah. I'll briefly read just about the last page of.
Oh yeah, we can talk about it. I'm just saying that's the end of the movie.
It ends. Yeah, no. I just want to, because the ending that Ward shows is very similar to the ending of the story. So the story is told by an unnamed narrator, but he heard the story from the Chong character, who in this was named Amy, and it had all taken place about 50 years earlier, and when Amy was like a young man who wasn't as insane, who now, it being 50 years later, has gone kind of insane, and the whole town, they all know this thing happened, but they don't really know how to describe it. It's simply described over and over again as the strange days. So it ends with, what it is, only God knows. In terms of matter, I suppose the thing Amy described would be called a gas. But this gas obeyed laws that are not of our cosmos. This was no fruit of such worlds and suns as shine in the telescope and photograph plates of our observatories. This was no breath from the skies whose motions and dimensions our astronomers measure or deem too vast to measure. It was just a color out of space, a frightful messenger from uninformed realms of infinity beyond all nature as we know it, from realms whose mere existence stuns the brain and numbs us with the black extra-cosmic gulf it throws open before our frenzied eyes. I doubt very much if Amy consciously lied to me, and I do not know his tale was all a freak of madness as the town folk had forewarned. Something terrible came to the hills and valleys on that meteor, and something terrible, though I know not in what proportion, still remains. I should be glad to see the water come. Meanwhile, I hope nothing will happen to Amy. He saw so much of the thing, and its influence was so insidious. Why has he never been able to move away? How clearly he recalled those dying words of Nahum's. Who's Nathan? Can't get away, Drazi. You know something's coming, but ain't no use. Amy is such a good old man. When the reservoir gang gets to work, I must write the chief engineer to keep a sharp watch on him. I would hate to think of him as the gray, twisted, brittle monstrosity which persists now, more and more, in troubling my sleep. So that's the story. That's the ending.
I like happy endings.
Yeah, full of hope.
Bad guys win. Yeah.
So the part of the point of that is that's classic Lovecraft right there, where he's very good at using this kind of imaginative visual imagery, but not really telling you anything.
Yeah.
Throughout the story, all he's really able to say is it's there's a color, but it's not a color you've seen, so it can't really be described. Really, all they touch on is that it turns everything gray. All the plants turn gray. Everything eventually turns to a kind of powdery dust and falls apart. So it's very interesting because I kind of realized what it kind of reminded me of, and how I might have done this if I was telling this story. So we're in LA, and I woke up yesterday, and once again everything is on fire. So if you haven't been around kind of forest fire areas, it tints the sky a very odd color. It's kind of yellow, it's kind of pink, it's kind of tan, but the shadows, the way the light falls, everything is this new kind of tint. And furthermore, if you get close enough, everything is covered in this kind of gray layer of ash. And that's kind of the closest way to, I think, describing what I saw in the book. And it's just one way that people could kind of begin to think of a real kind of way of how this could be portrayed. That's just something I picked on because there was also some fires going on at the time I read this. And so it's, I don't think Lovecraft went there because, he was in New England and it's not constantly burning down.
Everything's wet.
Very interesting parallel, I think.
Yeah, but that's what like you said, he's good at giving you the framework, kind of like a coloring book, and you fill in the rest with your imagination. Yeah. He just gives you the guidelines on where to begin, And some people take that as lazy writing. I think it's interesting at the very least, because not a lot of people have the guts to write like him. Because we said we were going to talk a little bit before, with his literary history and his inspiration being Poe, and how he always tried to mimic Poe in his sort of prolificness.
Though with Poe, Poe straight up tells you what it is. This guy got stabbed by this other guy. There's this ghost.
You could say where H.P. Lovecraft, especially in the beginning, because his writing style changed throughout his short career, but especially in the beginning, he was more like that. very like vague, just like kind of like this, you know. You know what
really,
I'm saying?
I think Lovecraft's the real horror he was writing on is whatever kind of mental illness he was suffering from, because there always, it seems everything he does is in some way indicative of some kind of mental illness or his
mental
uneasiness.
illness was his humanity. That's what he was sick with his own humanity and his own
in a way, but he's always talking about that feeling we all have of dread or of fear or of, it's always a description of a feeling that we all feel, and all he can really say is, yes, this creature, this entity, whatever it is in the story, is like that. So he can't give you a physical, it looks like this, it is this. It's always just kind of a mood or an emotion.
Almost anthropomorphic
Yeah.
in its way, but not quite. So
Yeah.
more beast-like or more alien, dare I say, obviously. So
Yeah, it's alien, but it's also always ancient, because you hear about these recurring, there's the whole mythos he goes into of how there's these creatures who, every 100 or 1,000 or however many years, they come up from the black, from the depths, and once again, lay waste to Earth. There's the Necronomicon. There's all these kind of secret societies and dark rituals and all kinds of other things like that he seems very obsessed with. But yeah, really all of Lovecraft comes down to not really showing you what it is, but
what it should
idea.
do, though, it should make you feel insignificant. So this is when people talk about Lovecraftian. Lovecraftian storytelling should really make the humans in the story completely insignificant. What happens to them isn't necessarily the will of the beings involved. It's kind of like you're just, whatever happens to you is a consequence of something's will that has nothing to do with you.
You're simply the sacrifice to some grotesque, massive Titan god or something.
Yeah, and and your downfall is irrelevant, honestly, and just like your existence is irrelevant. So good Lovecraftian story should really be bleak. It should be hopeless. If the good guys win, it should only be to tell the survivors, the rest of humanity, of how hopeless the situation is. You know, so that's really the function of a hero in his stories, is to let everyone know that humanity's pointless.
And that's another thing. You always hear in a Lovecraft story some kind of person who, it's never narrated by the person who died. It's always some person who watched these other people die and is now writing the story as a warning to you. Yes. And they always have that warning. I tried to tell other people, and they don't believe me.
Never listen. They won't listen. Yeah, exactly.
And you can always tell it's going to happen again and again and again.
And it drives them mad, and that's where you get this whole genre of Lovecraftian.
And this is This is very much played out in Ward's character. And there's some interesting parallels between Lovecraft and Ward. I mean, there's the one he went to Miskatonic, and so H.P. Lovecraft went to Brown, same place. And Nick Cage at one point says, "Oh, you're probably from Boston." And he says, "Oh, Providence, actually." And of course, Lovecraft is from Providence. And he's there to warn all these people of something amiss, something is wrong, something is not right. Don't go on as you were, because it's not going to end well. And no one listens, no one cares, and inevitably it's
how could
futile.
you even believe them?
Yeah,
he can't even he doesn't even have the words to describe what the problem is.
Those
words don't exist for the problem. Right. That's the big horror, right? There's no way to describe the dread and the horror that's ahead of you.
And ultimately he's just this young college kid, and he's up against the mayor and whatever big company wants this dam to come in for the for the town, or for whatever money to be made from it. And it's just impossible to even try to resist it, because it's just going to happen.
And this is
even if the water is completely poisoned.
And you guys have totally nailed it, I think, in terms of Lovecraftian being very much about psychological states and mental illness, which are titans over which we have no control. And it's so interesting as well, this Lovecraft, the period he's writing, and he was born in 1890. This is the beginning of the psychoanalytic movement. This is a year later. Freud will publish Interpretation of Dreams, the first text on like modern psychology. And like he's caught in the throes of things that this kind of science was meant to address, and instead of being able to use the fruits of its labors that are developed 100 years later, he's the sacrificial lamb, doing the best that most mentally ill people know how to do when they can't access help, is to creatively express themselves or do a lot of drugs.
What's the difference?
Yeah. Well, one has a product at its end, and the other has a destruction.
True. I was being facetious. So, like, I want to get to a quick question. We don't have much time left. Whether or not I was going to like this movie hinged on how well they made this a Lovecraftian story. How hopeless did I feel? How uncomfortable did I feel? Were basically the big two. And did it make my place in the world seem smaller? Yeah, depending on how it affects these three dimensions, I would say it was successful. And I don't think it made me a little uncomfortable. It was a little disturbing. There's definitely some body horror stuff that, like, the special effects people did a great job with. Yeah, by far the best part, better than the lighting. The lighting wasn't very practical. I feel like it was partially practical and partially CGI. This comes with the colors of the skin of the people and certain effects where, like, I thought Mandy was maybe more practical. I could be wrong on that. The process seemed different. The colors seemed different. Didn't seem real.
Well, Mandy was like a 70s psychedelic kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, they used projectors or something for that practical lighting. Where this one, they definitely used CGI a lot more. So that kind of showed off. It made it look cleaner, but it took away the charm and the naturalness of natural.
Yeah, Mandy looks like it. You can't really tell what decade. It looks like maybe 80s or 90s, whereas this is very clearly a 2020 movie.
But did this movie really make you feel like all hope was gone? Like the warning, sure, he's giving us the warning, but like, are you convinced that it's hopeless? Because if you're not convinced the situation's hopeless, they didn't do a good job telling the story.
I didn't really care towards the end. Like honestly, I didn't think the ending, like, it was going along pretty well. I was really enjoying watching Nick Cage go crazy, as always. That's kind of the main appeal here. But towards the end, I was like, yeah, I don't care. It's how you die. I don't care if anybody else lives or dies, because I didn't really like or care about the characters at that point. And
that was a weak part of the story for sure.
Yeah, so I didn't.
In my final thoughts, that's going to be there.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly invested in them on if they lived or died, because I didn't like them much. Yeah. So that kind of, I was a little disappointed in the ending, I think.
Yeah. Well, final thoughts.
But yeah, Tristan, did you feel real quick, did you feel hopeless at all during the film? Because I want to know, like, if it's not good Lovecraftian story, if you don't feel hopeless.
Well, I mean, from a Jungian standpoint, it's about the hope and dreams and the aspirations of the hero of the story, which is Ward, for all intents and purposes. I know, Nick Cage is he's the big name actor, so of course he gets a lot of screen time, and it's like he's the de facto hero, but he's not. He's the old king, the old guard, who is a fool and can't see what's really happening and doesn't take responsibility for his own crumbling kingdom. Ward is the young hero trying to bring light to the situation, trying to bring new knowledge and bring change, and he can't do it. He doesn't have the tools. He doesn't have the language to describe what the fuck it is that's happening. They're paltry things that he brings to try and tell these people in a language that makes sense, a rational science to tell them that something is not right. And he fails in that. He fails to bring the proper authorities in quickly enough. He fails to save his only potential love interest, which is like the manifestation of his anima, the psychic female counterpart within every man, which often informs us of what we find joy in, our dreams, our hopes, things that shine and we find beautiful are often associated with whatever our female counterpart psychically draws us towards. And Lavinia is very much that for him, in that he's a science major, but he's also familiar with the magic that she's practicing and things that are non-scientific, very explicitly supernatural or mystical or psycho-spiritual. he can't save her. She dies as well, and he can't even ultimately sacrifice himself to make anything better. He actually...
Was his chance of heroicism robbed from him?
Yes. I mean, because she had drunk the water. He couldn't...
He knew what was wrong right away. It was a very simple fix, and they just wouldn't listen.
Yep. And he wasn't able to heed the warnings of the wise old man in the forest, the wise old fool in the forest. Because that's the only way. If he had listened to that voice initially, of Tommy Chong, that was the only hope he had of subverting this before it nipping it in the bud, before it overran everything and destroyed all these people. Yeah, the ultimate thing is he wasn't able to sacrifice himself, and he lives. That is his ultimate curse.
Failure. Yeah.
Both.
It's a survivor's guilt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now he just lives as a haunted, shellless. His anima is dead. Therefore, he has no joy or means of connecting with the world itself. He has no soul left. And that is a very empty and profound feeling to feel. That survivor's guilt. It really is. So... yeah, that's my... I did feel hopeless in that sense.
The way you describe it makes sense intellectually, but I don't think I felt it during the film itself, which ultimately I think it failed as a Lovecraftian story. It was a fun... we're going to do final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean...
Well, yeah, I'll
just briefly the last 5 minutes
say,
here.
Josh, that's always going to be the problem with Lovecraft is, like I said, he always describes something which is impossible to actually portray. So when you're doing Lovecraft as a movie, you need to adapt it in some ways. So you're always going to make some kind of changes, but it'll be basically impossible to ever fully capture what Lovecraft is trying to do. It's kind of like trying to adapt, I don't know, Kafka or something like that. Just,
that always goes over well at the box office.
You go a decent amount of the way.
Right. I read this little interview with Kafka, and he goes, please, to his editors, don't draw the main character as a cockroach. That's not the point of the story.
Yeah,
you're destroying the story. And I feel like that's Lovecraft with Cthulhu and his mythos and all of the creatures.
Yeah, he didn't think much of Cthulhu at all.
No, exactly.
And if you read that story, it's not about what Cthulhu looks like. It's about, once again, the strange feelings.
The significance.
Being struck instantaneously mad by just having seen it. That's a great fucking descriptor as a non-descriptor.
Yeah. Especially for novelization, for short stories, for stuff like that. So that's really
because it is. You need to, as a writer, you do need to trust the audience to use their fucking brains. I mean, it's getting less and less as we go forward in time. But that is part of the essence of good writing. And he does a great job of honoring the audience's ability to use their own terrors and mental illnesses to fill the gaps.
Treat the audience as though they have some know-how or no knowledge. All right, so let's go ahead and get the final thoughts. Tristan, this was your pick, so we can do Zach, do you want to go?
Sloppy thirds.
I'll go first, I guess. I'll give it I'll give it a 6 out of 10. This is one of the better Cage performances in a few years, because he does 10 movies a year, most of which are terrible. I know my dad watches all of them because they just put random movies on Prime. But one of his better movies in a while. But if it wasn't for Nick Cage, I wouldn't have been watching this, and there'd be, I think, not very much at all to say or think about this movie. So 6 out of 10, I'd say.
Yeah, 6 is pretty good. I was almost leaning to 6.5, but it's so strange because this is multiple movies, like we said in the beginning. This is a Nick Cage movie. It's a Lovecraft movie. It's a not quite sequel, but spiritual successor to Mandy. So it has all these different boxes it's trying to hit in my mind. So depending on the framework or the context I want to be in while I watch it, I want to give it a different rating. But I think 6 sounds fair. I think Nick Cage was probably my least favorite part of the film. I think it would have been a better movie, a Lovecraftian movie without him.
Who else could have done this movie, Josh?
Anyone with a range. Anyone with range. I'm not going to throw names, but I feel like this became more of a Nick Cage movie than a Lovecraft movie. And I think that is a problem if you're trying to do a Lovecraft movie. So I don't necessarily like that part. The characters were definitely the weakest part.
Well,
I
don't disagree, but the definition you just gave about what a Lovecraft movie is, I think you're the only one who necessarily thinks that, because I haven't heard that interpretation of it must make you feel hopeless in order to be Lovecraft per se. Like,
I mean, I don't know. I'll throw some citations next time. Yeah. But like, I should feel something bad.
I shouldn't feel good. See the comment section for a works cited list.
Yeah, right. You shouldn't feel good after an H.P. Lovecraft story. It's just the fact. So hopeless is just one of the go-to descriptors for me. But yeah, all in all, 6 out of 10. Little too much Nick Cage, too little HP.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I'm feeling generous, and I was just pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this film. And I'd never seen it before. It's always great to see something new, and a new movie too. I often don't like them. So this was decent. I definitely agree with you guys on the characters are the weakest link in this fucking film. I feel like the directors, in order to, have it not be such a crushing film, intentionally like made them not very likable characters. It's like none of these people are like they're all gonna die, so like we don't want the audience to be like believing in them too much or really like them too much. Otherwise, that'll be really deeply crushing. But it would have been so much. Do it, yeah, exactly. Why?
Yeah,
pull the trigger?
I know. Make me suffer,
choke me,
dude.
Daddy.
I know. Spit in my mouth.
Exactly. Like I'm totally with you there. Yeah, if they'd have made like this into if they'd have made like if they had chose someone who's really has a lot of pathos about them for Nick Cage's character, and to truly see that king like lose his crown and kingdom. Like in a really emotional way,
and a way we could relate to.
Yeah.
Sorry, not
Christian Slater.
Oh yeah,
hey, he was pretty good in I, Robot, or whatever. Mr. Robot.
Well, it should have been Will Smith.
Yeah,
if they're gonna make up for H.P. Lovecraft's racism, they should have.
Yeah, let's get Will Smith, get Hayden Smith.
Oh my God, yeah.
Wasn't Lovecraft Country? We're not gonna.
We're not venturing into Lovecraft Country. But yeah, this is how we're gonna get canceled. This is the blackwashing of history.
H.P. Lovecraft is not approved.
Yeah, right. Anyway, all of that bullshit aside, like it was such a culty movie, and that's why I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. Because there are such great cult movie moments of watching Cage be ridiculous and say things like, "You want some alpaca milk?" Like,
I want to reference this as your favorite movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Tristan's favorite movie is Color Out of Space.
He hasn't even seen Mandy.
He hasn't even seen Mandy, but he says this is Nick Cage's best.
Do you even cage, bro?
Do you even?
So yeah, 7 out of 10. Suck it.
All right.
Awesome, guys.
Oh, Christ.
Well, yeah, Josh, your pick.
Oh, okay. So this is pretty simple. I don't know if this is too early or it's too early or what, but whatever. I want to do let's just talk about some things we've seen that came out this year that we like. 3 things. It can be a mini series. It can be a film. I know this year has maybe not been the
well. Let's just say no Tiger King. Let's just say that.
No Tiger King.
Too obvious.
I know, right? Sorry, Tristan.
Damn it! It's like
I like Tiger King too, but it's just everybody was
Yeah. I forgot it existed until right now. So thank you for that. I'm never gonna financially recover from this. So.
That's why you gotta just start killing those fucking cats.
Yeah, I know. Have sex with their mouths or whatever you do. Get them on meth. That's what I'm talking about.
So it kind of as much as we can with this crazy year where you haven't been able to see movies in theaters, a 2020 retrospective best of, possibly even bring in some of the worst, because I can already think of a few I've seen.
Talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Bad movies.
Films that make you want to rant for a minute or just ask questions of each other about something. Yeah, anything like that. Because I know there's films here that we've seen that not everyone likes the same amount, We don't feel the same about every film we've seen this year. And that's good. Because you're wrong. Because I'm right.
And that's the way the news goes.
That's the way the news guys goes. I don't know. How's that saying go?
That's it. That's my catchphrase. You didn't know that?
Oh, dude, I thought that's how the cookie crumbles.
That's how the pickle pops.
Oh.
And now we're gonna go watch Mank.
Nice.
We should go watch it. Yeah. What are we gonna watch, guys?
We're gonna watch Mank.
Are we? Okay.
Mank by the Mr. Fincher.
Oh my god.
With Gary Oldman, who would have been good in Color Out of Space. We all know it.
Like,
all right. I'm coming for that ass, Jade.
come for it. I was gonna.
No! No! Your camera's on! Your camera's on!
No, you gotta pee before you get
All right,